Okay, if you want to get your hands on the cards for you or someone you know, Earl C. Martin Jr. will be at the Juneteenth Fest in Columbia this weekend, and you can also grab them online or make a donation to someone else. Ben and Sarah, I'll send it back to you.
I love that, like a therapist in your pocket.
Right,
I mean, everybody could use that every
know,
now and then,
right?
I think that's fantastic. All right, Ruby, thank you. Welcome back. Your Ford vehicle could be one of about 3 million recalled tonight because it could roll away even when it's in park. Ford says there's an issue with the transmission that needs to be fixed. The National Highway Safety Administration says it receives.
Hey everybody, Chief Meteorologist Brad Panovich here. We've got another active afternoon, not as active as yesterday with the scope or the widespread nature of it, but we do have some severe weather out there. I want to focus first on the most severe storm, which is right smack dab in the middle of our viewing area. It's over Lake Wylie right now. This is affecting areas, northern Lake Wylie, there in the southeast corner of Gaston County, northeastern part of York County, and then that little thumb there, that kind of little section there of Mecklenburg County down towards areas as you go down towards the McDowell Nature Preserve, and then down towards areas as you head into basically right around the southern sections of Lake Wylie towards Tega Cay and Fort Mill. So kind of that area encompassing with some really heavy rain and also a lot of wind. We've seen some wind gusting up to 45 to 50 miles per hour with this cell, but we've also seen some 1-inch diameter hail. Definitely seeing bigger hail today than we had yesterday with some of these storms. So if you're out in those areas, you might want to take the car, maybe throw it in the garage just in case. If you have a carport, put it in there as well to do that because there is some small hail in there. Now there's another little storm that has moved into western Union County. That's near Waxhaw. That one is not currently severe, and one near New Salem. But another cluster I've been watching carefully because this has had a history of producing some damage in parts of Iredell County. This one's over Salisbury and parts of Rowan County. Moving towards Rockwell, you can see the cloud to ground lightning there. Now there is much higher winds in this one. If we look at the wind speeds with this cell, we certainly have had some stronger winds in and around the Salisbury area. And if you look back at the storm track up into northern parts of Iredell, there was quite a few trees blown down. Some of our spotters up there reporting 60 to 70 mile per hour winds in that area. So I'm not shocked that we're seeing some wind damage with that, but I would suspect we're going to see similar setup as this moves south and east into parts of eastern Rowan County and that far eastern northeastern section of Cabarrus County, and eventually this will move into northern Stanley County. So heads up in places like New London, the Albemarle area, Big Lick, those areas, that's heading your way. Rockwell, Salisbury, it's right over you now. Not a whole lot you can do there. So let's widen out and take kind of the wide view here. You can see there are 2 or 3 clusters of stronger storms to our south, down towards areas towards south of Kershaw County and south of Chester County there as you head down towards Newberry. Those are kind of drifting off to the south. So we'll keep an eye on those because those could clip parts of Lancaster and Chester County. But boy, look at the cloud to ground lightning down there. Real impressive cluster of storms here around Winnsboro, heading up towards Whitmire, and then Union, South Carolina. A lot of cloud to ground lightning. Yesterday we had just some crazy lightning strikes with these cells. Looking for my lightning data here real quickly. I was going to show you how many lightning strikes we had in that area because the lightning was really impressive yesterday with all the cloud to ground lightning strikes that we've seen in this area. So let me see if I can grab my lightning data real quickly here. Grab it and kind of, I'm going to draw a box right over that. And you can see in that area, that's just in 15 minutes, by the way, 580 cloud to ground lightning strikes within the last 15 minutes. So just an impressive batch of storms right there just south of Chester County heading towards the Midlands of South Carolina. But again, the storm that we're, a biggest threat for the metro right now is over Lake Wylie. So Fort Mill, this is heading your way. I wouldn't be shocked to see this warning extended into the Pineville area, Fort Mill. It's going to go over Carowinds, Weddington, Jackson, Waxhaw. Let me stretch this storm track out just to give you kind of an idea on where it's going. So Indian Hook, 551, Fort Mill, 558, Marvin, 616, Weddington, 623, and then down towards the Jackson Jars area around 640, 645 or so. Check with some of our storm spotters across the area. We're starting to see a lot of wind reports. Again, a lot of people seeing gust of winds out of the head of the main line. That's been the primary thing I've seen with the storm that you see moving into the Lake Wylie area. A lot of reports of really strong winds, but around Marvin and Waxhaw, Mineral Springs area, we are getting some pretty good cloud to ground lightning. You might see a storm start to develop there that could produce some damage as well. So probably something to keep an eye on as we go through the evening that we could see, or I say next 30 minutes, not the evening, because I don't think these storms will be around that much longer. I think after 7 o'clock, you're going to see a lot of these storms start to move out of the area. Now, just to give you a heads up, we are under a severe thunderstorm watch until 7 p.m. But one of the things I've been noticing, we've been seeing the counties taken away. So as this line has been shifting south and east, they've been removing counties. So just like last night, we're probably not going to see all these counties until 7. Because the way the line is moving, it's likely going to be somewhere closer to maybe 5 or 6 o'clock for some of us that we see those. So here's a view from our Dallas camera looking off towards the east. So Spencer Mountain in the foreground there. Charlotte is off to the left. You could see kind of a lowering there. But I've been watching this for hail as well as downbursts. One of the things we look for is to see, is the rain, basically, do we have a rain foot? And what's a rain foot, you're probably wondering? Well, oftentimes you will see, I don't know why is this not playing. Let me see if I can get this to go to the end here. Sometimes we'll often see in these storms that the moisture comes out and pushes out like this, and we call that a rain foot, and the rain band will come out like that. And so it'll fan out kind of like a bell. And when we see that bell shape, this is a sign of strong winds coming out. Sometimes it'll even curl up a little bit. Some people will mistakenly think that's a tornado, but that is strong winds that we see come out of that. So when you look at the base of these, that's what we're kind of looking for as the storm pushes off towards areas in southwestern Mecklenburg County, northern York County. That's kind of where we're looking. We're looking towards the Lake Wylie vicinity. I'll show you the radar again just to show you that storm we're talking about. So Dallas is kind of up here just north of Gastonia. It's right there, and we're looking off towards this storm right here. And it's moving quick. It's over Tega Cay right now, about to move into Fort Mill. It's going to clip Rock Hill as well. So areas around Red River, Overbrook Drive right there, Catawba River Lane, Hayward Lane is right there, 158, 270, and 21 as you go down into parts of Rock Hill. Kind of moving, basically right over 161 right now as well as it's moving in. So just got a pretty good video from the Rockwell area of some really strong winds up in Rowan County. So there's a quick look at the DOT camera in that area. So we're starting to see some darkening. It looks like the rain just started there. So just starting to get that. But just got a report out of Rockwell, which is up in Rowan County. That was a storm that came through areas of Iredell County. Some pretty strong winds. Just looking at it, looks like a tree fell on a power line. I'm going to look at the video real quickly off air here. It does look like we just had, there's some arcing going on. So I'm going to retweet that, guys. If you guys see that, we can share that. But that was that's in the Rockwell area, so that's right there. We have some pretty strong winds there. It looks like based on the velocity data. Let me back this up a couple frames. Oh yeah, I can see how those winds, those reds pushing out right there. Definitely probably 40, 50 mile an hour winds. So yeah, a little bit of downburst signature. Also got a nice little outflow boundary there. And an outflow boundary is just a rush of cool air that comes out of these storms. That's showing up right in there. So there's an outflow boundary right there coming out of that storm. So that's pushing out basically in this direction. All the air is pushing out like this. So you might get a good gust of wind in the Concord, Harrisburg area. Those areas are likely going to see some pretty strong winds here as that pushes it even way ahead of the main line. So we've got that video. So this is a video out of the Rockwell area. You can see the arcing of the power lines. Looks like a branch or a tree or something fell onto the power line. So you see that arcing off. So thanks for that, sending that in. If you can safely get out there and send us videos or pictures, these are a great help to us, the Weather Service, and other people downstream of these storms. But that's what we've seen a lot of today, power lines and tree damage in many locations. We start to see the trees and power lines impacted by that strong wind. Steel Creek area, looks like that storm is starting to weaken a little bit in the Steel Creek area, but if you're in Rock Hill, Fort Mill, over there towards the Regent Park neighborhood, and then Indian Land, this thing's heading towards Indian Land, so basically in across into the panhandle there of Lancaster County, I would be on guard for some gusty winds as well. So if you got maybe the porch swing, the trampoline, the lawn furniture out there, you might want to go secure that, because I've seen a lot in the last couple of days. Things that are not tied down will end up blowing around and break things, like dent cars, break siding, break windows. So you might want to secure all the stuff, even the barbecue grill, anything outside, bring it closer to the house, try to tie it down or secure it as well. Steve just sent me a picture of a tree on a roof, it looks like in Gastonia, about 30 minutes ago. Union Road, which is right near the Gastonia Municipal Airport. So that's the storm that just came through there. So got a new warning that they're going to issue with this same cell. So basically, kind of what we were telling you earlier, we were going to see additional warnings move through as this pushes through. So there's a view of that tree on the roof there over in Gaston County. So that's the same cell that just got a new warning for northern York County. So Rock Hill, Fort Mill, Tegakay, you're in this warning right now. So let's zoom in, and you can see, looks like a new warning. Let's go to that warning. That's going to be now for Union County. So this is a new severe thunderstorm warning. That's for the cell I just, we're calling these out right ahead of time. So that Mineral Springs Waxhaw one, thought we might see a warning for that because it was starting to get a big jump in lightning. So that warning is up until 6:30 p.m. for Union County. That's for the southern sections of Union County. So there's not a lot of storms like yesterday. I mean, the whole area was basically covered. But the storms that have gotten going today are becoming severe. It's kind of what we expected. Remember, yesterday we were talking about these will be pretty scattered today, but the storms that managed to get going potentially were going to be severe. So that's what we're seeing in these storms today. They've definitely been much stronger to our north and south than we're seeing over us right now. And I'll just widen out and show you that the storm's moving up near the Virginia border, heading towards Greensboro and Raleigh. That's been almost like a derecho type storm up there. That's got that big outflow pushing in, and that's why I see the next warning just issued out of it. You see those giant warnings they're pushing out. That's a damaging wind threat just to our east, but that's clipping the northeast sections of Rowan County, and that will likely clip Stanley and maybe Richmond County. So you're seeing some new warnings with that line back towards the west. That's an area where I definitely think we're going to see some strong winds probably stay with us through the evening hours. So if you're definitely in those areas just east of Charlotte, probably in the next hour or so, you're going to have to be on guard for some really strong winds. I'm going to do a quick track on that because we do have a lot of people watching that are in that area. So let me flip the camera. Let me flip the radars here real quickly. I'm actually going to turn on the Raleigh radar so we have a good view of that. So there's that storm, and I'm going to do a storm track on that because based on its movement, it's moving off in this direction, so we can kind of track it off there. So for folks that are watching our stream right now, you can see Durham around 6:06. Let me move that over so it's not behind me. There we go. You can see 6:06, Butner around 6:16, Wake Forest, Raleigh around 7, then Gardner, Sanford area around 7:19 or so, and then off towards Pinehurst, maybe around 8:40 or so. So it's moving off in this direction, and that's definitely a storm that has had a long history of damage. Saw some video coming out of areas up in Virginia on 81 there. You know that area runs in the western part of the state through the Shenandoah Valley. Huge trees blowing on the interstate up there. So that was definitely producing some really strong winds. But you see the two warnings here currently in Mecklenburg County. Those storms definitely have some small hail, maybe 1 inch diameter, maybe a little bit bigger, but the winds are the primary concern. I'm going to turn the storm reports on real quickly here. Let me go back here. I want to change this up just for a second. Let's turn what we call LSR. So you see the little damage path kind of through the Kings Mountain area, moving into Bessemer City and Gastonia. So there was a little swath of wind damage and also a couple hail reports there. If I highlight some of those reports, let's go into Gaston County. You can see 1 inch hail there, 1 inch hail there, and then we had some power lines down. That's the right where we had that video, I think, earlier in that general vicinity. There were some power lines down and some trees down in there. Let's look at this one near Kings Mountain. You could see tree down, that was around 5:10, and then over in Cleveland County, on the Kings Mountain side of Cleveland County, we've got some thunderstorm wind damage as well. So that storm, when you see a history like that, you're going to be very cautious with that storm downstream. And what I mean by downstream is it's moving downwind or where the current flow is taking it. And looking in Fort Mill, Rock Hill area, you can see that there's a spike in lightning right now. And one of the things I'm going to do as I'm talking to you, I'm going to pull up our Rock Hill camera. So yeah, we've got an accident there on I-77 Sutton Road area. Boy, just coming to a standstill. Look at the rain. I mean, that's, you know, you see this a lot in these downpours. It goes from great visibility to nothing. Look at the wind. I mean, you can see the wind whipping there and blowing some of that moisture. There's the backup. So yeah, just a mess. Friday traffic is always a bad deal, but you throw a storm in there on top of that, does not make for a great commute. And again, this is down on 77 near Rock Hill, and that storm is right over them. So I believe that's just on the northeast side of Rock Hill. Yeah, looks like police there already, at least. Maybe see some flashing lights there. So yeah, that's might want to reroute yourself in that area. Stay away from that, because with the rain ongoing, it's making it kind of difficult, you know, to keep these, to respond to this. So I'm sorry, I was distracted by some other tweets coming in. Just got a report from Rock Hill as well. Heavy rain and hail right now with the wind gust in Rock Hill. So thanks, Jonah, for that one. Yeah, appears to be some really nasty weather on the northeast side of Rock Hill. Let's go in close. I kind of pinpoint some of the roads here. So you can see right there, it says that's basically Mount Galliot Road, Ender Terrace right there, Commerce Drive, Galleria Point. So this is the Galleria where you head over towards the mall, right there getting off, and as you go towards Waterford Parkway, over there where the Waterford Golf Course is, or was, and then you look back towards downtown Rock Hill, heading towards Rock Hill, the heaviest rain. But it looks like the worst of it is actually right up here near, looks like Ebenport Road and Merritt Road. That's on the northeast side of Rock Hill. Let's go in close there, because looking at that, that's probably some small hail. Anytime I see those brighter returns, I'm always concerned with some hail. So let's do the Doppler Slicer here. This is going to give us a good cross section of what this storm looks like. We'll tilt it on its side, and yeah, there's a hail shaft in there. So what I'm looking at when I do this, and I'll kind of pan this back, you can see a couple things on this image. It's just really kind of fascinating. One thing you see when those overshooting tops, you look at the top right there, that's the updraft surging through the top of the storm and sometimes shooting up into the stratosphere. That one's approaching 50,000 feet. So you're going to get some lightning spikes and some hail, but you see this darker red and some pink in there, that's hail. You get up around 20,000 feet, that's probably minus 10 or minus 20 degrees Celsius. So really cold air, you take that warm, moist air up there, you start freezing it, creating hail. And what happens in these storms, the hail tends to kind of do a loop in here. So what happens is you see moisture get pulled up to the top of the storm, and then it comes back down to the surface. So that little loop, let me actually draw this a little better. So what happens, the hail goes up, the moisture freezes, comes down, it can get caught back up in the updraft and get blown back up to the storm. It'll do this loop a couple of times until it's too heavy for the wind to hold it up, and then it falls to the ground as hail. And if you see hail in these locations and you break it open, you're going to see little rings, and that each ring is going to tell you how many times it went through that convective cycle up in the top of the storm. So kind of a cool experiment. Not that you want hail at your house, but if you get hail and you can go safely out and check it out, have your kids grab some hail that's not melted yet, break it open, and they count the rings, and you can see how many times it's gone through that cycle. So pretty impressive to see the tops being around 50,000 feet today. Those are huge tops. So going to Rock Hill again, so you see some of the cameras in and around Rock Hill. All those cameras are DOT cameras. You could see the DOT cameras kind of showing the heavy rain and the lack of visibility. I mean, right now, was it 5? It's almost 6. It's 6 o'clock. 6:06. I have to look at my watch again. 6:06. It looks like it's about 9 o'clock at night in some of those pictures. So that is some really, really dark clouds and heavy rain. When the visibility drops like that, you know you're getting some heavy rain because it's blocking out the sun. And that's the storm right there in the middle of your screen. So we'll put that right in the middle of your screen. That's the storm. And then the cameras on the outside are basically all the DOT cameras, which the Department of Transportation cameras from South Carolina, showing the various views of the Interstate 77 corridor in there. And again, that's right near Plaza Boulevard, the Galleria area, heading over towards Waterford Parkway. Let me go in closer again, because let's see if we can pinpoint some of these roads. And you probably know, if you're on Cedar Grove Lane or Montclair Drive or Ferris Street, anywhere on 21 in Plaza, down towards Sandpiper Drive and Roundtree Circle, you know what's coming down, but that is probably some small hail. If you're in this area, I'd stay inside right now for a while, maybe stay away from the outside walls and windows. You don't have to go to a shelter location like in that safe spot, but get away from the windows. You know, anytime there's a severe thunderstorm warning, tree branches tend to come down, and you're near a window, you know, those will break the window. So stay away from the window, especially with hail. It could be wind-driven hail too that could break the window. There's an updated sweep of the radar. So basically heading towards the Galleria Mall area. There's the mall right there. That's the big parking lot right there. And then Waterford Golf Course is right there, and Waterford Park Drive. I think there's a big, what's a sporting goods store right there? I know there's a big sporting goods store right in that area. So if you head off towards the east, starts getting towards the parkway there, but there is some real heavy rain, and that's an area that doesn't drain very well. We usually see flash flooding in that area as well. Let me look at the rainfall rates with this one. Oh yeah, so these are the rainfall rates, and let me give you some estimates here. You know, we're seeing about almost 2 inches of rain per hour. So if it rains for, 30 minutes, that's an inch of rain in 30 minutes, half an inch in 15 minutes. So that's going to cause flash flooding. That's especially in an impervious surface area where you got big parking lots and a lot of urban growth. That's the area where the water runs off quickly. You know, you ever wonder why impervious surfaces are such a big deal in urban setting? It's because when you get heavy rain like this, the water doesn't soak into the ground. It runs off real quickly, so it starts filling up storm drains and local creeks, and you start seeing flash flooding. If you take a big area of half an inch of rain in 15 minutes and funnel it into one of those storm drains or creeks, you start to see some flash flooding. And again, don't want to discount what's going on in Union County. We've got some big storms between Waxhaw and Jackson, just south of Mineral Springs. Now, Lancaster County, you're not in the warning. This is one of those issues. We were just talking about this today. There's going to be severe weather there. You can connect those areas. That's just a different jurisdiction there. But that storm is going to move through probably Lancaster County, the Panhandle, from Van Wyck up towards the Indian Land, and then push east into the Waxhaw area. So Waxhaw, you got one storm. There's likely another storm that's going to be moving in there as well. That's the area where we're probably going to see the strongest wind. So let's widen out because I want to recap what's going on other places. So let's look to the northwest, because you're probably wondering, Brad, how long is this going to last? Not very long. Back behind this, there's nothing. So once this line moves through, we're good. And that should happen in the next hour, believe it or not. These storms down to our south in the Midlands, they are prolific lightning producers. I mean, the lightning is just off the charts. Now, again, when you see the lightning on our maps, it's only 15 minutes worth of lightning data. And I used to put 30 minutes on there, but 30 minutes makes the screen kind of cluttered as well. It's crazy to see 15 minutes worth of lightning data start to clutter the screen, because that's a lot of lightning in a short period of time. So if we do a lightning query, we call it, we're up to 698 lightning strikes just in that cluster of storms, everywhere in that box. Yesterday at this time, we had some areas that were producing around 2,000 lightning strikes in 15 minutes. So that is pretty impressive to see that much lightning in a short period of time. For instance, just go to these storms that are moving. Now, these are producing more lightning now. In the Rock Hill, Fort Mill area, boy, it's really picked up with the lightning. So that updraft's still building is what that tells me. So about 91 cloud to ground. So there's a new warning. You just saw that pop up live during the stream. And that's kind of what we expected. That's for Lancaster County. So thanks to the guys down in Columbia for adding that to kind of makes it easier to coordinate and get all the warnings together. So it's for these two clusters. Basically Highway 9 north, it looks like, 521 right there. 77, so heavy rain on 77. So this is going to continue. These are tracking off to the southeast again at around 20 miles per hour. So let's do an updated storm track kind of on this whole cluster. So I'll track it off in this direction to give you an idea. So Unity, that's going to put it in Unity around 612. Tradesville 625, Pageland 645, and then Lancaster, the city there in the airport, right around 658. Jefferson as well, as you go into the western sections of Chesterfield County, right around 7 o'clock, 7:05. And remember, don't look at these times as to be precisely on that moment. Give yourself about 5 minutes ahead of that time before, we're going to see that storm arrive. Because remember, the radar is a little delayed, the stream is a little delayed, so there's going to be a little lag in when you're actually seeing this. So give yourself a little bit extra time. But once those storms move through, we should be in the clear. Now let's go back to the watch, because the watch is up till 7 o'clock. I'm waiting to see if we start seeing more counties kind of removed from this, because as the line moves, the line's here basically. So we might see Cleveland County, Catawba, Lincoln, Iredell taken out. But areas to the southeast, we might see an additional watch issued for the PD region, and maybe Chesterfield County down towards the PD and the Grand Strand would be my guess, would be probably where we're going to see the next warning issued. And this is all part of a big cluster of storms that formed way ahead of the main line. That main line is basically kind of what we call an MCS, or a mesoscale convective system. I'm just looking at the probability of a watch being extended here. There's probably going to be another watch issued to our southeast. Won't affect us so much here in the Charlotte area, but if you're into Columbia, Florence, Fayetteville, Myrtle Beach, Wilmington, maybe even Charleston, South Carolina area. So, you can see those storms pushing south and east. So I wouldn't be surprised to see another watch issued somewhere in here. So probably going to see one issued in that vicinity. I'm just looking at my watch. That was severe thunderstorm warning for Lancaster. That's the one that was just issued. So the area we're monitoring, and let me see if they're actually putting out that watch yet. They have not. So I'll go to the watch map, and we'll kind of show you. So you see some of the counties to our south that aren't in the yellow, and that includes a big section from about Columbia to Wilmington down to Myrtle Beach and Charleston. I would suspect we're going to see that area filled in with a watch. As they remove counties to the northwest, they'll start adding counties down in this area into the watch, and it'll be for severe thunderstorm winds. I had a great question on Twitter here just a second ago, and it's something I've seen a lot in the last couple days. It says, these hot summer thunderstorms never form tornadoes, right? Question mark. Well, I wouldn't say never, but it's very unlikely. The thing in these summer storms, when we get in the heating of the day, most of the movement of the air is up and down. It's not rotational. The reason we get strong winds is that storms lift that air, the hot, humid air, high into the sky, and that hot, humid air comes crashing back to the ground. It's all vertical. So you can see my wet microburst simulator back here. So we saw a lot of those yesterday. We get hot, humid air lifted up to the cold, dry parts of the atmosphere, and what happens is that air comes rushing back to the ground as a downburst or a microburst. Now these winds can be as strong or not stronger than tornadoes. It just means their direction is straight line. Now this time of year, the jet stream's pretty far north. We had this giant ridge of high pressure. The jet stream causes wind to change direction with height, and we call that wind shear, and that's what causes rotational winds. That wind shear, the winds could be at the south at the surface, and you go up to 10,000 feet, the winds could be from the southwest, and at 20,000 feet, they could be from the west. And so when you get a 50,000 foot storm that builds up through that layer, those changing winds make the whole storm rotate. Well, we don't have that today. The winds are pretty much all from the same direction. In fact, in the atmosphere, they're pretty light. That's why we had a heat wave. If we didn't, 97, 98 degrees, you're only getting that because of a dome of high pressure overhead, which has really light winds. But what you make up for with the lack of wind shear, you make up with a lot of thunderstorm fuel, CAPE. There's so much heat and humidity that these storms become explosive. They build high into the atmosphere, and what goes up must come down. And when it comes down, it comes crashing down with heavy rain and strong winds and sometimes hail. And that movement up, though, initially creates a ton of lightning, because that rapid development into the colder parts of the atmosphere creates a lot of ice and even what we call grapple, and that creates the static charge at the top. So you can see the storms that explode like this on a hot summer day tend to be huge lightning producers, heavy rain, and wind producers, sometimes hail. Although the hail doesn't usually get that big, because what happens is as the hail is falling back down, it's got to fall into that 90-degree air near the surface, so it starts to melt quite a bit. So some of the hail we're seeing today, though it's pretty big, probably was much bigger as we went higher up into the atmosphere. Just looking at some local storm reports, just got a 1-inch hail report coming out of the northeast side of Rock Hill. Not surprised there. That was the area around the Galleria Mall area that I thought we probably had some hail. Everywhere we see purple there. But look at the hail tracks here. There's a look at the hail tracks. So you can see kind of that area I'm talking about. So let's query the hail size. Whoops. Sorry, I went to the wrong map. Do some hail size here. So now the radar is estimating about 1.1, 1.3, but remember the radar beam is looking higher up. That means we melted about 1/10 of an inch of the size down on the way down, and it shrank to about an inch, which is kind of typical. So that's right near the Galleria area. So Galleria Mall area is right there as you get off going towards the Galleria and then the Waterford Park area. So let's zoom in real tight there. It's Dave Lyle Boulevard, you know, that exit right there. Cherry Road exits just a little bit farther north there. So those are the areas that got clobbered. But now, man, heads up in Hancock and Van Wyck, Indian Land, you know, all those areas on 521 in parts of Lancaster County now. That same storm that just produced hail and some damaging wind to the west is heading your way. So we got some video. That's 77 South still. Ugh. So yeah, that's there was an accident there, we know for sure, but then the storm went through there. It could have been, you never speculate all the time, but it's probably weather related. When you're going full speed, 70 miles an hour down the Area 65, and you hit a downpour, you know, everyone slams the brakes on, and if it's wet, hydroplaning occurs, so you end up seeing, you know, all kinds of issues. So my guess is, I'm not going to say for sure it was weather related, but there definitely was an indirect impact from the weather down in that area. So that storm is now kind of coalescing. The cluster of storms in Union, Lancaster, and now York are kind of becoming one storm. You see how they're kind of winding. So that's a different angle. So yeah, at least there's one lane open. It looks like they're getting by on the far. That might be in the shoulder they're getting over. So there is one lane, but I think is that 5 lanes in that area, I think. It's either 4 or 5 lanes. And to have all that kind of bottlenecked into one lane, that is going to cause a backup for a while. So we'll see. The emergency crews are on site. Hopefully they can get some more lanes over and push everybody over. But yeah, that's a mess down there. That's, you know, this is a weekend. This is it's the 3rd weekend in June now. We're going towards Father's Day weekend. A lot of folks on the interstate heading to the beaches right now. There's a lot of people from up north traveling 77 South, heading down to the South Carolina beaches, either Charleston or, you know, going down through Columbia to get over to Myrtle, Georgetown, Hilton Head, Savannah eventually. So there's a lot of cars on that road today as people are heading south. So you might want to look at a different route if you're heading 77 South through York County right now. The other storm we were watching is kind of weakened a little bit up there towards Rockwell, but it looks like a new storm now forming in central parts of Stanley County. Norwood right there, Cottonville is right in that area, Albemarle, Big Lick, so it's like central Stanley area. That's moving into the northern sections of Anson County, kind of clipping northeastern Union County. But this is kind of what, if you watched my vlog this morning, I did a vlog this morning and, you know, talked about this, that we were going to see storms, but they were going to be much more scattered. And I tell you what, just looking at some of our guidance, this is kind of the way the guidance looked today. We had these isolated little pockets, not the massive storm that we saw come through yesterday. So these are moving as expected, and just reminded me to kind of show you what our futurecast shows for the rest of the evening. So you can see our futurecast, there's 6 o'clock, kind of hitting the storms very well. Go to 7, everything's off to the east. By 8 o'clock, it's almost completely out of the area. So that's why I said, if you can just wait these out for another hour, you know, till 7:30, I think we're going to be pretty much done. So let's go back. You can see those are pretty fast moving. And the reason I'll put more stock in this is because if you look at that's what the model thinks is happening at 6 o'clock. Here's what's actually happening at 6 o'clock. Those storms that's pretty much what we're seeing. Maybe the storms to the south are a little bit bigger than the guidance, but the location is pretty spot on. So again, these warnings, 6:30 for southern Union County, and now Chesterfield and Lancaster till 7 p.m. But these are moving fairly quickly, so I would not anticipate us seeing new storms develop behind that or anything like that. Just getting some more 1-inch hail reports out of that cell in York County. That storm definitely just got some delayed reports from Bessemer City. A lot of trees down. Major tree damage south Doby's Bridge Road. Thanks, Will. That's down in York County, I believe. Stanley County getting some reports of some strong winds. That would tell me that this storm probably right here. Hard to tell if that's the storm on the northeast side of Albemarle or the south side. Let's look at the winds real quickly in those. Oh yeah, we got some strong winds in there. You know, there's Cottonville, as I was just mentioning, 138 and 52 coming out of Albemarle. So yeah, you got some pretty strong winds right there. Let me just look at the radar, seeing about 34. Now remember, the radar's probably underdoing the winds a little bit, but the radar's picking up about 35. We're probably getting 40, 45, because the radar's not sampling that quite as well as it could. It's pretty far from the radar site. But still getting some reports. Thanks for the reports from Stanley County, just a heads up for folks out there. Those storms could be reorganized, and I wouldn't be surprised to see them get reorganized, because this has been untouched today. What I mean by untouched, there hasn't been many clouds or any storms in that area, so the heat and humidity is much higher. If we look at the temperatures out there right now, let me glance at the temperatures real quickly. That's what I'm talking about. You see those areas east, that's pretty hot out there still. You see the areas where it's rained and there's been clouds already. We've got temperatures in the low 80s, low to mid 70s, but east towards the sandhills, those temperatures are still in the low to mid 90s. So that's fuel for storms. There's still plenty of it out there. So as this line gets out there, we might see the storms kind of re-intensify, maybe even get much bigger. Certainly looks like there could be opportunity for these storms to maintain themselves for a while. I had a lot of people ask me that online today. You know, I think these are going to make it all the way to Charlotte or areas east. Yes, but it's not going to be a big line. It's going to be like this. So they're isolated in nature. And you actually could see new storms developing in Anson County. So as I was mentioning, that heat, there's definitely some fuel there for those storms, because we're getting new development occurring right there. And then look at the storms moving into the Highway 9 corridor between Lancaster and Chesterfield counties. So potentially those are going to go for a while. But to the northwest, looking clear, looking good. All that's drying out. So if you're basically north and west of this line, let's do this. We try to do this often when we're giving you severe weather information. If you're in these areas here, that's clear from severe. So let me update this real quickly. I'm going to send this out for folks that aren't watching us online. We'll do the all clear from severe. And again, it's from severe. And I'll put this on here so you guys can see it. So right in here, all clear from severe right there. The storms are still moving southeast pretty quickly at about 20 to 25 miles. I say quickly, 20 to 25. They seem to be moving quicker than that, but they're not rebuilding or back building. So that would be the good news, that we're not seeing anything redevelop. But if you're in Chesterfield, Anson, Richmond, you know, areas down towards the PD